Welcome to the Bomba Pod. I'm your host, Martin Bomba, and each week we bring you meaningful conversations with guests who uplift, inspire, and encourage you to become the very best version of yourself. Whether you're chasing a dream, building something new, or just looking for a spark of motivation, you're in the right place. Produced by Dennis Ayotte and proudly supported by Window World and PJ's Coffee of New Orleans. Let's grow together. Let's be inspired. Let's get started. Hey everybody, it's Martin Bomba, and it's time for another Bomba Pod. And on this week's show, I have a wonderful guest. His name is Steve Kamody. He is the president and COO of Window World Corporate, and he has a wealth of knowledge when it comes to how to run a business, how to operate franchises, and how to get the most out of your business as you're scaling it. Steve, thanks a lot for being here.
Thank you.
So, full disclosure, you and I have been friends for a long time.
Yep.
I've kind of watched you come up through the Window World ranks, if you will. You've got an interesting story in the profession that you came from and the profession that you've ended up in now, and to the top of the food chain, so to speak. I mean, you're the guy. And let me say this, and I think you already know this because I've told you, when you were put into that position 10 plus years ago-ish.
Yes.
Is that about right?
That's about right.
I think a lot of people were really happy to see you come in. And
Well, I appreciate that.
because we knew how you were in your other positions within the company. We knew that you were a serious person who took the business seriously, but also knew how to guide it in the right direction. And I think that you've proven yourself and everybody else right. Window World is now the number one home improvement company in the nation. Tell me some of the other accolades we have.
Well, listen, we have been number one on the QR, Qualified Remodelers list, for years and years and years. Sometimes that list can get a little wonky as they enter, home restoration companies and others outside of our space. But we're definitely at the top of the mountain. We've been so for a long, long time. We continue to have a big target on our back, but we accept those challenges, and we strive to remain nimble so that we can change and continue to stay at the mountaintop.
And you didn't start in the home improvement industry,
No,
did
I did
you?
not.
So you were in finance. You were in the banking business. Is that correct?
For a little bit.
For a little bit, for a nanosecond, in the whole scheme of things.
Mhm.
What did you take from that when you went into the home improvement business? And incidentally, you started business to business in the home improvement business. How did you take your knowledge from the banking industry into that?
Well, yeah, Martin, that's going way back in
No, I
dating
know.
me.
You just keep acting like you're old. You're not old.
Well, thank you. But when I first completed my undergrad, my first real position was in banking. Spent about 7 to 8 years in that, and specialized in small business lending. Had a lot of exposure to construction, R&R retailers in our space, and even in a lot of other non-related industry spaces. Did a lot of lending in family entertainment and those types of areas as well. When you're in commercial lending, you have a lot of clients that will offer you positions, and it just happened to be the right timing when a company in our industry space said, "Come and join us." The time was right. And that was my first foray into this industry, leaving banking, going to work for a small entry door fabricator out of Louisville, Kentucky, and first cut my teeth and learned the business a little bit on the manufacturing side. Yep.
So when you joined the door manufacturing company, you're from Ohio. I guess Louisville's not a terrible hop, skip, and a jump from where you were at, but what was that change like culturally going from Ohio to Louisville, Kentucky? I mean, other than the fact that they've got great bourbon.
Yeah. Um, Culture shock.
I would have to think.
For a couple of different reasons. Number one, going from the banking industry where everything is very cookie cutter, very process oriented, very structured, very suit and tie. Rules are not meant to be bent or broken. To an industry where there was a lot of creative license and flexibility involved. So that was a cultural change, one that I welcomed, absolutely. I found out fairly early on that banking wasn't the career I wanted to make a lifetime venture out of, but it was selecting the right time and what industry I wanted to jump into. This was a very interesting industry back in the 90s.
Oh, very much so.
Which was when I made that jump. And then, of course, culturally from Ohio to Kentucky, night and day, good, bad, and otherwise. So only spent a couple of years actually as a resident there. Really didn't like it, moved back to Ohio, but was able to maintain that position, I should say, as a vice president of sales because it was a road warrior position. So I didn't need to be there in Kentucky week in and week out.
And when did you decide to make the jump from the door business, which was essentially business to business? You would go out and you'd see people like us, right? You'd go out and see the retailer. I'm sure you dealt with mom and pops, and you dealt with larger companies as well. What led you to the decision to move from that into the homeowner interface?
Well, there were a couple of in between steps there. So in that position with the entry door manufacturer, obviously made a lot of contacts and other industry, I guess, elements that I was exposed to. Made a move over to a window manufacturer, and by the way, was introduced to Window World when I was VP of sales for the entry door manufacturer. We put in the very first entry door program at Window World back in the late 90s.
Wow. That was the very early days.
That was the very early days, yes. Gravitated over to a vinyl window manufacturer that also happened to supply Window World in the early days. So from both of those elements, I got to know the original owner of Window World, Leon Whitworth, as well as Todd Whitworth, Tammy's late husband. And that was really the first connection from B2B to B2C. I had seen it from the outside, supplying Window World, both doors and later windows, but actually making that big jump over to Window World as an employee and then learning it from the Window World side was really the true exposure to the B2C.
In the time that you've been doing this, you've had a lot of opportunities to see a lot of different companies kind of behind the curtain, so to speak. What have you seen most consistently is the difference between the ones who make it long-term, and by long-term, I mean after 6, 7, 8 years and beyond. What separates them from the ones who don't, the ones who ultimately tank, the ones who ultimately have to go out of business or whatever the case, get bought up by their competitors?
Yeah, well, first you have to consider that pre-Window World, the reputation of our industry wasn't the most stellar. Kind of the tin men, high-priced, gimmicky, shticky type of organizations that, I mean, there's really not a nice way to put it, that really isn't looking out for the homeowners or the consumer's best interest. Most of those would fall by the wayside. Now, a few would survive, typically based on the strength of the owner-operator, knowing how to market and how to go to market successfully. But it was when Window World actually entered into the industry equation, I like to refer to us as an industry disruptor, and pretty much turning the industry on its head and developing a model that was built from the bottom up as opposed to the top down, and all based on fair price, affordable, literally to just about anybody, and the ability to be able to go into a home, be transparent, and do right by the customer. Still make a profit, still do well, but whereas the competitors, you got to wonder, what do they do when they see a customer in the aisle of the grocery store or at church or what have you? And it's kind of one of these.
Absolutely.
And go the other way. At Winter World, certainly we're proud of ourselves as a company, how we go to market and how we look out for the customer first.
Well, whenever I first got into the business, this was back in the early to mid 90s. It was an interesting time, like you said, because the old Tin Man attitude was still very prevalent. It was still very much there. I was very fortunate to be raised in the business and come up in the business under my dad, who was the complete opposite of that. He was Window World before there was a Window World, in the philosophy of the way that he sold. Never high pressure, never forceful, always be the customer's friend, always do the right thing by the customer. The handshake is the bond. And nobody else was doing that at the time. And if there were, I wasn't aware of it. So I never learned the bad side of the business other than, what I saw with the competitors and what I knew from what Dad knew from the competitors, guys whose names we won't mention, but some of them, many of them are not around anymore, because the buying routine of the customer changed so drastically, and especially in the last 10 years. It's really, really shaped differently than it was. Why do you think it is that there are many companies still, and this astounds me today, why so many companies still think that that's a good business model and they still do it?
I really can't answer that because I'm not in their shoes. In the last 10 years, and even more so in the last 5 years, consumers have gotten more educated. So you'd think that they would be able to see through those types of gimmicks and shticks that exist out there. But when you operate on a high margin model like those competitors do, they don't have to win every job. They don't even have to win half the jobs to make the type of margins that they're trying to achieve. Whereas we operate on higher volume, fairer margins, and everybody wins. We win, the consumer wins, and it also gives us an opportunity to then give back to the communities, which we're very proud of what we do there.
And let's talk a little bit about that. We'll get back to the business side of things, but charitable giving, philanthropy, community involvement have all been cornerstones of the Window World model forever, since day one. And it's only increased and grown as the company has grown. Attended a benefit fundraiser last night, and there is no better feeling in the world than to raise your hand at an auction and donate a substantial amount of money to a good cause. And Window World has done that over and over again through the Window World Cares part of the charitable arm of our company is what I call it. Tell us about that.
Well, I like to refer to it as one of the three legs in a stool. We do have a foundation, Window World Cares. By contract and by philosophy, anything that's given to Window World Cares goes straight to the children of St. Jude Children's Research Hospital out of Memphis, Tennessee. Absolutely wonderful cause, originally supported by Todd and Tammy Whitworth. Todd passed away, obviously, years ago. Tammy absolutely wanted to continue that that path of supporting St. Jude through Winter World
And that was her
Cares.
real passion. I mean,
Absolutely.
we found watching Tammy over the years that she found her groove, so to speak. That's her lane.
Absolutely. A second leg in that stool is how we give back and support our military veterans. It started through the support of Veterans Airlift Command, where we were one of the very top givers and supporters of an organization that transported wounded veterans for compassionate and other reasons. But it expanded beyond that to what we now call our Winter World Military Initiative, which is the broader umbrella. And then there are all sorts of military organizations that support veterans under that umbrella. So that's another big source of our giving and our focus. What I like to really, really shine the light on, I mean, those two areas, Winter World Cares, St. Jude, and the military, I mean, they speak for themselves. But what I really like to shine the light on are all the different things that our franchisees like yourself do in their local markets. And I don't think our system even recognizes the level of that giving and support, which is why I like to shine the light on it at our signature event, the family reunion.
Absolutely.
Because we have 220 plus stores nationwide, and the vast majority of them are supporting local philanthropic endeavors in their local markets. And it's just amazing, again, the level of giving and support. And that really comes back to the source of our model. It's provided great living for our franchisees and their teams, but it's provided them the ability to give back and support those maybe less fortunate than ourselves.
Which to Debbie and I has really been the biggest blessing of it all. It's allowed us to give our kids and our family a wonderful life and build some really tremendous things. This podcast being one of them. I don't know that I'd be doing this podcast if it wasn't for my association with Window World. We have so many opportunities in our communities to do that, and I think you're right. I think that it's not as recognized, but I don't know how you would recognize that on a larger scale, because most of the people that do this are pretty humble. They don't want the recognition. They know what they're doing, and that's enough for them. And but you're right. There are so many of us, and by us, how many locations do we have nationwide now?
220 plus. It varies with satellite locations between 225 and 230 actually. But you hit on a point there, Martin. I always say this when I talk to a franchisee about what they're doing in their local market. I say, I know that you're doing this for the right reason. You're not doing it to have the spotlight shined on you, but I want to shine the spotlight on you because I want the rest of our company and the rest of our system to know the types of things that are being done in these local communities. It's amazing, and it's immense to the level.
And you don't have to look very far to find somebody who's needy. You really don't. I don't care where you live.
That's right.
You know, women's shelters, the local YMCA. Last night was a benefit for a senior center in New Braunfels, where one of our stores is and where we call home. It's just amazing to me, and it continues to be. And you know when it really started, when I really understood what the giving was like, was that trip down in Jamaica. That was whenever I really got it. And I don't even know why I started doing whatever I did that night, but by the end of it, we had raised all kinds of money.
Oh, it was amazing.
It was crazy.
You just took the mic and away we went, and it was a fabulous evening, and it raised a lot of money for a great cause.
But it was just indicative of the giving heart that our Window World owners have. And I don't think that that's the least of what we do. I think that that's a very big part of what we do. And like you said, it's the three-leg pillars that keep this company where it's at. And that is one of the big ones. St. Jude, of course, we've We've visited St. Jude on many occasions now, and we'll continue to do so. In fact, don't we even have an event there around Christmas time?
Yeah, we had to take a little bit of a hiatus for a few years when COVID hit, and then the subsequent years beyond COVID, but we've been able to get past that and have now re-energized that effort and went back last year really for the first time since COVID, but now plan on making it an annual tradition again. And it's cool because it not only gives us an opportunity for fellowship at the holidays, but it allows us to spend time with the kids who are away from their home and just do something, really joyous at the holidays.
Steve, we got to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to start digging into your early years at Window World and then kind of moving the way up through today, if that's all right with you.
Absolutely.
All right. We're going to take a quick break, hear from our sponsors. We'll be right back on the Bomba Pod.
This is the future team.
Oh yeah, Window World, we've been family owned and operated for 4 generations. We can't wait to see what these little guys do when they take over. Okay, maybe we can wait. I think that's best for everyone.
Want service that's honest? Window World. Service for generations.
These windows are seriously the easiest windows to clean on the market. Just a little bit of this glass cleaner, put it on there.
Window World has been family owned for generations, which means chores aren't just chores, they're part of professional development.
You got this, Layla. It's wax on, wax off.
Needless to say, things are a work in progress. For squeaky clean service you can trust, call Window World. Service for generations. Hey everybody, it's Martin. We're back with the Bomba Pod. My guest today, Steve Kamody, President and COO of Window World Corporate. And Steve, welcome back. Thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me.
So Steve and I don't get to see each other as much as we'd like to sometimes, well, I'm speaking for myself. I don't get to see Steve as much as I'd like to sometimes because he is just all over the place. You can imagine when you have 220 locations plus, you got a lot of irons in the fire because ultimately you're here overseeing all of that in some capacity or another. When you joined Window World, you of course didn't join immediately as president. You came in as what was your first position?
Well, my first position for the first 1.5 to 2 years was actually as a regional manager. Todd Whitworth, again, before he passed, said, Window World from the outside, from the vendor side. Come join us. We'll give you an opportunity to learn it from the inside through this regional manager role. But there were also promises of other opportunities down the road. And quite frankly, it's worked out pretty well. I've enjoyed every step along the way.
I'd say so, yeah. When you did come in as president, were named president of the company, again, some 10, 11 years ago, it was a time of disruption and a little turmoil within the company. And so you had some unique challenges whenever you came in, losing one of your founders tragically and at a very early age. You had Tammy, who was grieving the loss of her husband and trying to run a company. And obviously she thought you were the right choice to come in. Well, we won't talk about the other choice, but you were the right choice ultimately to come in and take the company where it needed to be and to guide it at that time. And what were some of the particular challenges that you faced early on whenever you came into that position?
Well, you hit the nail on the head, Martin. There was some turmoil, and I would refer to it more as some lack of trust system-wide in the leadership. And so when Tammy and the board of directors gave me the opportunity to sit in this seat, my number one objective was to go about rebuilding the trust with our system, with franchisees like yourself. I inherited some really great people on the team, but I set out on adding to that team because, my ability is only as good as the team around me. They make me look good.
Isn't that always the case?
Yes, and they certainly make me look good. But as I assembled this team, my number one marching order to them was, whenever we make any sort of decision that's going to truly impact our system, our stores, our franchises, we need to take a step back and look at it through the lens of the store owner of the store to make sure it's a decision that they're universally going to accept and agree with. And if for some reason they're not going to agree with that, we can provide the explanation as to why. That's how we go about starting the process of building that trust back.
And I think that you accomplished that, at least from my perspective, you accomplished that in what at the time would have been perceived as record time. There was some immense distrust. There's always going to be some friction between the franchisee and the franchisor, whatever business you're in at some point or another, some more than others. But with Window World, there had been some ill will, if you will, that had been built between corporate and the owners, whether perceived or reality is up for discussion. But it was there, and that was a big chore to get in there and start rebuilding that trust and letting the franchisees know that Window World was there to support them, and their success was also their success. What were some of the internal things that you changed immediately whenever you came in and started? You inherited some good people, but what were some of the internal workings that you changed and implemented?
I mean, there were a couple of tough personnel decisions that I had to deal with right off the bat, so address those. And then it was the first couple of steps in a journey of what we needed to do to get the infrastructure in place to support the system of stores. Back then, we for instance, vendors, programs, and products. We were very limited, very narrow in what our stores could offer, being a franchisor. We set out on a mission to expand the breadth of that, to provide more options, more good, solid options to our stores so that it wasn't so narrow. As a franchisor, it's not our place to tell you as a franchisee how to run your business. But it's to give you as much support and as many good options, especially in that vendors, programs, and products area, so that no matter what decision you make, as far as what products you want to carry, we know that you can't go wrong because every option that we approve is a solid option in our opinion.
So we got through that period as a company, and of course other challenges have arisen and always will arise in that position. When you're out and traveling around and meeting with franchisees and owners like myself, and you do this 3 or 4 times a year, yeah?
Well, we do it more than 3 or 4 times a year,
right.
But this type of trip where we can hit this many stores in a 1-week period, 3 or 4 times a year, yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and on this one, you're hitting 11, 12 stores, something like that?
No, we're hitting 8.
But still,
but think about it. That's 2 per day, pretty much over the course of the week.
It is, and they're not all next door. That's the other big thing. So when you're traveling around, you're meeting with these owners, and I mean, we've got very small markets, 100,000 less population, and we've got some very large markets in excess of 2.5, 3 million, and maybe more than that. I'm not sure. What do you see the top 10% of the owners in the system doing differently than their counterparts in other areas of the country to keep them in that 10%?
Well, before I answer directly and specifically, let me go back to our model. Our model is a higher volume, a little bit lower margin type model than our competitors, which is a lower volume, high margin. I mean,
Make
for
as much as
instance,
you
about
can, as quick as you
about
can.
as simple as it gets. I guess to answer then the question directly, it's what do those stores do successfully that continue to this day, successfully putting out that type of volume and appealing to that many homeowners that they can do that kind of volume? Well, it's twofold. One is they haven't forgotten their roots, and they tell the Winter World story. I mean, the full Winter World story, because 90% of the battle is, as you know, is building a relationship and building trust with the homeowner. By telling that full Winter World story from start to finish, there should be no decision in the homeowner's mind who they want to do business with. We're not only fairly priced, but again, as I said earlier, giving back to the community, doing all the right things, and just really developing that relationship and explaining who we are and how we go to market and why we do what we do. Now, let me get a little more granular, which will probably better answer your question. The stores that are really, really successful in moving that level of volume today are the ones that are using more and the many tools that we provide them, one of which is offering consumer financing. Our competitors have traditionally sold a lot of consumer financing. That's not how we initially went to market.
No.
But over time, as I said, we've had to be nimble. We've had to be able to be willing to change. And we're now in an inflationary environment, to be quite honest with you, that you have to offer homeowners other options than just stroking a check. Not everybody can afford to stroke a check or pay cash on the spot. So the ability to provide them good, fair, solid financing options appeals to it appeals to a cross section of the buying public that couldn't otherwise be reached if you weren't offering those options. And so again, back to your original question, those successful franchisees and successful stores are really getting behind those types of programs. They're advertising it, they're leading with it when they go into the home on the sales call. They're making it a focus of all their efforts. And Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, how can we help you? How can we make this more affordable to you? You can't turn on the television nowadays without hearing that word affordability.
No, you can't.
Yeah. So we are providing various and sundry options that make it affordable for the homeowner.
Well, I'll give you an anecdotal example of that. I had a design consultant in the home last week, and when they went into the home, the customer was adamant they were a cash buyer, they're paying cash. When they walked out with a finance deal. Because of the types of financing that we can offer today, because of our size, because of our breadth and width in the industry, we have, as Window World, we have some options that other people just don't have. And I think that has been such a good service to our customers in making things affordable, yes, but still allowing them to, because let's face it, you can get affordable and wish you had never bought it. That does happen. But value is what matters the most, and that's, to me, that's when the price and the quality meet, and we've done a really good job of that, I think.
I think you, as a store owner, a franchisee, have done a tremendous job with it, and we're coaching our stores and kind of pulling them along and leading them as to this is a way you can really grow your business. In the old days, and when I say old days, I'm only going back a couple of years, consumers were looking for that 0%. Well, 0% over a short term was really appealing to the the homeowners that really didn't need the money. They were just using it as a free source of capital
Other
for
people's
a year
money.
or two or what have you.
Yeah.
But our gravitation towards offering longer term plans at $799, $899, $999 are extremely affordable to the homeowner, and offers them an option of a payment that can fit into their budget that they couldn't otherwise make the deal work. So we can improve their home and offer an affordable solution at the same time. And for anybody who says, well, you know, I don't believe in financing, I don't believe in interest, I'm a Dave Ramsey guy, I get that. I get the no debt
I respect that.
philosophy.
Yeah.
I respect that. But compare us coming into a home and offering a financing option at a $799 or even a $999. I mean, compare that to what you're paying on your credit cards if you're not paying it off on a monthly basis.
Wow.
20, 25, 30%.
If you're lucky,
nowadays?
20.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's insane. Yeah, so we're in agreement. It's an option that people want and need, and you don't ever have to take it, obviously, but at least it's an offer, and it's one more way that we can help our customers make what we do affordable for them.
Yeah, and the thing to also keep in mind is you're only paying the interest for the amount of time you carry that. So you may take out a 7-year or a 10-year, which sounds like an eternity. Oh my gosh, over this period of time, I'm going to pay all this money. But if you pay it off after 3 years, after 4 years, the clock stops on that, and that's all the interest that you paid. So again, to the affordability and to the option to the homeowner.
If there was one thing that you could change and implement location-wide, every single location tomorrow, I'd like to see them doing this, what would that be?
Well, I think there could be two answers to that. The first would be what we just talked about, and that would be to get universal adoption and a more aggressive push to offer financing in the home.
Not to interrupt you, but what would be a reason for a business owner not to do that?
That's a good question. I think I said this early on. Sometimes the strength of a business in our industry space is the strength of the owner-operator. Somebody like yourself and Debbie. You're smart, you're savvy, you can see the vision of the big picture. I think sometimes owner-operators in our industry space, including some at Winterworld, are a little bit more short-sighted on it and aren't really looking at the big picture on how this is no more than a tool to help them grow their business. So, yeah, to answer your question, there really is no reason not to. The other direction or path I was going to take on this, but it's really yet to be determined, and that's going to be better adoption of AI in today's marketplace. And we are looking at a variety of different models and platforms to better use AI, both at a selling level, but at a broader digital level. Our IT team is led by an absolutely amazing individual, and you know Duffy Sweeney. He built our custom CRM system that all of our stores as well as us utilize, but his understanding of the AI scape is just beginning to formulate, and I'm excited to see how this continues to evolve. And so the answer to your question is yet to be determined because we're still in these early days of AI.
Well, it's to me, it's an exciting time, a frightening time, yes, as well, because there's the fear of the unknown. I've got friends that are just adamant that they don't want to have anything to do with AI, and my response to them is, well, then you might as well just go live in a cave because you're going to be left behind. Mm-hmm. You better learn how to adapt to it, how to adopt it, how to adapt to it, and what it can do to help make your life easier and make your job more productive. With that being said, one of the things that I was going to ask about in business, of course, embracing new technology is one of them. But if you're trying to scale your business as a small business operator and you want to take it to a level that's a little higher or maybe a lot higher, what are some of the things that you can do to scale your business?
Yeah, that's a challenging question, because there's so many different variables and dynamics. You know, being a national company, we have large, small, we have the geographic differences, east, west, but I I don't know that I can answer that in a really succinct way.
Too concisely. Yeah, that's
too
a big question.
I mean, we have what we refer to as our SOP or standard operating procedure of how to scale the business. That involves, when do you bring on the next couple of salespeople or installers, or when do you hire
When to add a
sales
manager.
It's at certain levels. So, I mean, that's probably a little bit too granular to get into this.
It is. That was
type of
probably too
discussion.
broad of a question for this format, but thanks for trying anyway. We've got to take another break, but when we come back, we're going to talk more about the growth track of Window World and some of the changes that you've seen over the years, that positive or negative, in our industry. And we'll do that when we come back right after this. Thank you so much to our sponsor, PJ's Coffee of New Orleans. If you want to try the very best small batch roasted coffee that you're going to find anywhere, look no further than PJ's Coffee of New Orleans. 2 great locations to serve you in the San Antonio area, at Camp Bullis and I-10 and at 281 and Bulverde Road. You're going to find all your favorites at both locations, from wonderful espressos, macchiatos, you name it, they've got it, as well as some delicious energy drinks, as well as our signature granita. And beignets, yeah, you bet we have them, and they are phenomenal. Be sure to stop by the PJ's closest to you and try any of our wonderful coffees, teas, and pastries. Thanks again to PJ's Coffee of New Orleans for sponsoring the Bomba Pod. Hey, welcome back, everybody. We're here on the Bomba Pod with my friend Steve Kamody, President and COO of Window World Corporate. And we're talking about growing your business, sales, and the way that the industry has changed over the years. What has changed in your mind in the window business over the time that you've been in the industry?
In the window business at a broad level, I think more and more businesses our competitors, I guess, a better way to put it, are seeing our success. So we've drawn in a lot of copycats. I will say not ever really totally successful. I think we have both a model, but a family that can't be duplicated. But I think over time you have seen some gravitation away from that high binder type business model, more towards ours. Probably the simplest way I can put that.
Yeah. Some changes that I've seen. How about quality of product?
Well, yeah, that's a given. I mean, as time goes by, there's always the next best thing. In fact, funny story I can tell you there is I have a great products team. They're constantly coming to me saying, we need to offer this, we need to offer that, because Martin's asking for it, or
because
or
one
another
store's asking for
franchisee's
it.
asking for it. And my response to them is, okay, A, let's take a look at it and make a business decision. Would this product be in the best interest of the entire company? But B, let's also be patient, because that next best new toy and or widget or what have you is probably only 3-6 months around the corner. And we want to always be at the cutting edge. We don't want to necessarily be a me too. We don't want to be a me too.
That's the last thing we'd want to be.
But to your point, yeah, the products are always evolving, always getting better, and typically involving less maintenance, which is big to the consumer by and large. So that's a constant evolution, and it's exciting because, we have our national signature event coming up this summer, and I've encouraged all of our vendor partners, if you have something that's really exciting, that's really sexy,
Bring
to
the
show
sizzle.
our system, bring the sizzle to that event and roll it out there, and we'll get behind it 100%. Yep.
Well, speaking from a franchisee standpoint, that's one of the things that we look forward to the most is coming and seeing these new innovations and these new products coming out. And I think that our vendors have kind of wised up a little bit in that they would bring out prototypes in the past, and you'd say, well, when are they going to be out on the market? When are they going to be available for us to order? And they'd give you the same answer, about 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
And then about 2 months later, it's probably another 2 months or so. Oh, last quarter. And then the next thing you know, it's been 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Frankly, we experienced that with 360. But they've gotten better about bringing stuff that they know is going to be available for purchase at a quicker clip than it used to be.
Well, I'll take the blame on 360. That's our homegrown CRM because, you asked me about what were some of the first things you did when you took over as president 10 years ago. One of them was to make some key personnel changes. One of them was how we interact with and collaborate with our system. But the other thing was to kill our original foray into that digital space of developing a CRM because I didn't want us to be in the software business. I mean, we're a home improvement company. That's what we know. We don't need to be in the software business. So I sent us on another trajectory where we partnered with a company built on the Salesforce platform, but very quickly found out that they kind of sold us a bill of goods. We're a custom shop, and they told us that they could customize it for us. Well, we very quickly learned either they couldn't customize it or didn't want to customize it because whenever we went to them with a request, it was, well, how's this going to impact all the rest of the customers that we do business with? So very quickly, I came full circle and said to myself, you know what? We got to get in the software business. And fortunately, I was able to find Duffy and hire Duffy, and the rest is history. He's built our custom CRM from the ground up from scratch.
It's one of those things that you mentioned early in our conversation, and that is surrounding yourself with the right people.
That's right.
And Duffy was definitely the right guy for the job. He is like a unicorn. He's one of a kind, really and truly. What has changed in Window World in particular over the last few years as far as adding new products? How has that changed our business?
Yeah, that's a great question, Martin, because, and I'm even going to go back a step before that, we went through a branding change. And the reason we went through that brand change, and this was just before COVID, was because we were being recognized as just a window company. And we wanted to change that public perception to being the company that we really were that could address the entire exterior envelope of a home. So away went our old logos of double hung windows that the consumer would see and just think we're a window company, not knowing that we do doors and siding and roofing and all,
Absolutely.
basically everything on the outside of a home. So we went through that branding change to start that process. Then it was a matter of getting with all the vendors and coming up with a strategic plan of where are the holes in our game and in our repertoire and in our offerings that we needed to fill so that our stores could successfully go after the entire exterior envelope of the home. And that's probably still to this day one of our biggest challenges because although we are number one in our industry space, we are still predominantly windows. I would say with a great deal of confidence, because I look at this very closely, that we're still close to 3/4 of all the business that we do is in the window space. So we're truly, When you look at 75% windows and 25% everything else, there's a tremendous opportunity for growth there.
And that's one of the things I think that excites me most in the future of our industry in window world is just that, is growing those other ancillary products to where they're not ancillary anymore. They're almost on parity with the windows without losing our source, you know?
And I will add this, just in the last couple years, the trajectory of our entry door business has been astronomical. It's been exponential.
Oh, we've seen it locally.
Right.
Yeah.
So we are getting at least one other product line that is truly being a core product to go along with our windows. Now, everything else, siding, roofing, everything else, we still have some work to do, but it gives us a tremendous opportunity to grow further.
What's one habit over the years in your career that has made you what you are and has given you the ability to make these leaps and move up the ladder, so to speak, in the remodeling industry? What's one habit?
One habit?
Yeah, what's a habit that you have that it's a non-negotiable? This is something you do every day.
Ooh, I was going to say, I don't know if it's so much of a habit as it is a trait, and that comes back to the collaboration. I mean, I truly value the ability to roll up the sleeves with somebody like yourself. I mean, just because we're corporate, I mean, we can't be in a, I mean, certainly there are some non-negotiables. I mean, we need to be a consistent brand. There are some things that just everybody has to abide by. But what makes us different from most franchises is we provide more creative license to the franchisees.
And I can attest to that.
Because who knows your market better than you? We certainly don't. So to your question, again, I don't know if it's so much a habit as it is a trait, is I value that ability to collaborate with the Martin and Debbie Bombas of the world. It's a non-negotiable.
And it's been a long time since I felt it wasn't that. I mean, a very long time since I felt that it was not a collaborative effort. The advisory council is a great example of that, inviting leaders from different size stores in on a, I guess it's a biannual basis that we're on the board. And you actually ask for input and listen, and you value that. And that's been evident for a long time. What excites you the most about the future of our company?
The growth potential. My team hears me beat that drum constantly. We can't be satisfied.
No.
We have to grow. So, and there are so many different avenues for us to grow. We just talked about one, and that's grow our other product categories. There's also what we talked about a little bit earlier, and that's kind of the unknown, and how can we grow through better uses of AI. Then the third thing is our ability to continue to grow geographically. There are still some pockets in the country where we're not represented, and we are pursuing potential international options, specifically north of the border. We're doing what we can to check boxes to see if that's an avenue we want to pursue. Certainly, cultural differences have to be taken into account. Government regulations have to be taken into account. But we're seriously looking at other opportunities to expand our geographic breadth, and with that, just can fuel that growth.
I'm curious. This is completely off the topic of what we've been talking about. Not really. What kind of competition is there in Canada? Are there a lot of window companies in Canada? Are replacement windows a big thing in Canada?
Again, we're in the process of vetting and doing our homework. What we've found so far is it's very fractured. You don't have those large companies like us and some of our larger competitors down here. It's a cobbled together,
More small,
lot of
regional.
Yes, small regional. and even smaller local. I mean, what you would consider, maybe truck and ladder contractor types down here, that's what's really prevalent up there. But what's also interesting is Canada has kind of been split into 3 geographic areas where it comes to differences in products. So whereas down here in the States, you kind of have east and west differences, up there there's really 3 geographic differences, main differences with products.
Wow. So what dictates the differences?
Where you're located.
But I mean, is it climate? Is it building codes are different in those areas?
All the above.
All the above.
All the above.
Wow.
Yep.
I never would have thought that.
And then, like I said, we're really having to study the cultural implications as well. Language differences and requirements and your collateral.
It's easy. Just don't go to Quebec.
Yeah. There's certainly a lot to take into consideration.
No offense to any Quebecers that are out there watching right now, but I talked to somebody from Canada the other day, and I said something about, well, I know that they speak French, but what's the thing with you guys in Quebec? He goes, they're not Canadians, they're Quebecers. I thought we were the only ones that had
I'm not going to touch
the north and south stuff. I had no idea.
Yeah, and listen, we haven't made any final decisions what we are and aren't going to do. We're just, you asked about growth, and nothing's off the table.
I think that's exciting. I mean, I think that's tremendously exciting, especially, and we haven't even talked about the youthful influx into the Window World family. I mean, that's something that's extremely exciting from a personal basis, yes, because I have kids that are now in the business and will eventually take over. But as a whole, the people that he and they talk to within the company in different stores, same type positions, younger guys that are taking over for their dads or their families. And it's just exciting to hear how smart they are and how forward-thinking they are and how non-complacent they are.
Second generation, we even have some third generation families. And then some really exciting new blood coming from other areas outside the organization, inside the organization. You heard me speak earlier about our signature event, our Winter World Family Reunion. And this summer, our theme is Power of the Past, Promise of the Future. And the reason we're going with that is we're now 30-some years old, and a lot of our longtime veteran franchisees that have been here decades, that this company has basically been built on their backs. I want to be able to honor them there. But the focus on the future is to the exciting part you just talked about, and that's all the fresh new blood and the new creative thinking and other ways to skin the cat. And we need that to be able to continue to stay at the top of the mountain.
Well, it's how we keep learning, too. It keeps me excited in the business. I mean, 33 years in now, I feel like I've seen it all, and then I start seeing these guys innovate things, and it's just fun. It's fun to see where it's going.
It is.
Final piece of advice for somebody that's trying to build a business in this industry.
Patience.
Look for an open market, buy a Window World franchise.
Absolutely. Patience, but even more so vision. I think one of the traps that some of our franchisees have fallen into is trying to be chief cook and bottle washer and do everything. Rather than hiring a good team, and then that allows you to take the step back and provide the vision on how the business is going to grow.
I'm so glad you said that.
You've done that very effectively over the years, and would certainly love to be able to take something like that and show the system how it can be repeatable market to market.
Well, that's a phenomenal piece of advice. Before we get out of here, let's have a little fun. Can we do that?
Depends.
You look worried. No, it's painless. First car.
First car?
Yeah.
Don't laugh. It was actually a Volvo.
Really? A Volvo.
An old Volvo when I was doing my undergrad, with a lot of miles, with a lot of problems, but it got me around.
I'm not trying to say you're old because I can speak for me too. I've never heard of anybody our age having anything but a Chevy or a Ford or maybe a Buick or a Lincoln. That's funny. A Volvo.
My older brother was into Volvos and BMWs, but he loved the late models, and he found me one, and it fit my budget, and it got me around. So,
favorite sports franchise, professional.
all the Cleveland sports. I'm a diehard Cleveland fan, long-suffering Browns fan, but I'm loyal.
Any Browns fan is a long-suffering Browns fan.
That's right.
Kind of like the Cowboys fans.
Worse.
It's hard for us to imagine that, but I know you're right. That's true. Steve, what a fun time. Such great wisdom, long time in the business. It's one of the things that I love most about my time in the business now at the age that I'm at, and I know it is for you too, I would think, and that's seeing other people be successful, building other people up, helping them realize their dreams like we've realized ours. And I appreciate you helping me do that today.
Well, I'd like to just close by saying I appreciate you as a colleague, and I appreciate you as a friend.
Thank you, sir. Likewise. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. That's been the Bomba Pod. Don't miss next week's show, but this week you don't want, okay? Thanks to our sponsors. We appreciate you, Window World and PJ's Coffee of New Orleans, and we'll see you next time on the Bomba Pod. Thank you for tuning in to the Bomba Pod. If this episode encouraged you, share it with a friend, post it, and help us spread the inspiration. Special thanks to our producer, Dennis Ayotte, and to our sponsors, Window World and PJ's Coffee of New Orleans, for helping make these conversations possible. I'm Martin Bomba, and remember, your story matters, your voice matters, and your impact starts now. Until next time, go out and spread some kindness. Make the world a better place. The views expressed on this show by the guest or the host may not reflect those of our sponsors.